Hey guys, Dan here from DansTube.TV, and on today's episode of the Drone Owners Worldwide podcast and video experience, we have Eric from Dronelink joining us for a live Q&A session. Now, Dronelink is the future of flight automation, and I'll just bring it over to the screen here. It allows you to reimagine your drone flights. It allows you to set up particular waypoints and planned missions and mapping, and it really just offers so much to drone pilots. It's really powerful stuff. So you can also set up 360-degree photos, hyperlapses, and even tracking modes. So in today's episode, we will be focusing on the Mavic Mini, because that was recently added to Dronelink. So let us know in the comments below what you thought of this episode here, and we'll jump into it very soon with Eric. Thank you so much for watching, guys. This was actually sponsored by the Mavic Mini Australia Facebook group, and also Eye in the Sky Clothing. So I'll have those links in the video description as well, but let's get into it.
And that's what Dronelink became. Dronelink became kind of our vision of, if we could do it again, take all the things we learned from Autopilot, all the good things that were in Autopilot, all the things we knew about Litchi and the other software solutions that are out there, and kind of build something cool that we had heard that people wanted. So that was really back in April of last year. Started building it and was launched kind of in October of last year with a heavy duty focus. It's the interesting thing is, I think the focus has changed. It was originally very didn't really know what people would want. It was focused on the Mavic 2 users, people that couldn't really use Autopilot. And
make sure you mute your mics, everyone. Thank you.
And it expanded out, and then over the early part of this year, there's a lot of interest in Dronelink among some of the major drone service providers, and some of the other larger companies, the Air Maps and the Air Datas and Air Maps and drone logbooks and drone bases, and a lot of these other companies that are looking to have kind of a centralized autonomous tool to enhance what they're doing. And the way that Jim created this thing is it's more than just a software solution. It's a whole language. It opens the door to companies to create their own software solutions. So that's what was kind of coming. And then in the meantime, I tend to push more the consumer side.
Yeah.
We found out about the decision by DJI with the Mavic Mini, that it wasn't going to support waypoints, or the way it was going to come out, but the way that Jim programmed Dronelink, it became, and this is kind of a month or so ago, it became uniquely the only software solution that would support waypoints and orbits and all the things that Dronelink did for the Mini, for both iOS and for Android. I know there's a red waypoint, there's a couple other solutions out there that sort of do it, but at the power that Dronelink does it, it became very unique, and it kind of took off from there. So it kind of, if you look at our sale, it's kind of interesting. We have all these kind of smattering of Mavic 2 Aspire users, then a bunch of enterprise users, and then it kind of flattened out, and then the Mavic 2, the Mavic Mini thing had such a spike worldwide. We've had this huge amount of interest. So the great thing is for us is now it's pushed me and pushed Jim to start developing more. So you'll see that's the new pricing that came out. That's the new feature set that's coming out. That's the new enhancement that's coming out. Yeah, with more things to come. So that was a long intro, but hopefully that helps kind of set the stage for So I've launched. It was a long answer to basically say I've been involved with Jim for almost 5-6 years right now. Wow.
Yeah. No, that's great. Thank you for the context behind everything. I was really curious about how it all kind of came about and what your big why was, which you gave to us. You gave us why you guys started this, and you wanted to, I guess, fix that problem that you saw other software didn't offer the most comprehensive kind of offering of flight automation, which is great. I guess I'm really curious how Dronelink actually entered the market. Like, what did it look like when it first came into the market?
I would say it looks pretty similar to the way it is now. And it hasn't, at its core user interface level, it hasn't changed a lot. The idea behind it was it was never intended to be something that you just kind of turn on and fly. Again, The feedback we got even from the autopilot days was that it's complex, hard to learn, there's a lot to do. We always pushed back and said that's because it does a lot. It's not intended to be, something. It's not a DJI Go or even a Litchi where you can just kind of fire. You got to watch a couple of videos. You got to learn a little bit. You got to read a little bit. You understand the logic of how it was put together and why it was put together that way. And specifically the heart of it and why. If you watch the very early videos that we did, it was this component-based architecture. So it was really built with the intent of I want to build something and then I want to reuse it, and then I want to be able to use it again and again and again, and then enhance it. And then I want to share it with Dan, and then Dan's going to enhance it, and then we're going to work as a team, and then we're going to build on top of that. And then let's figure out the additional things that we want. Oh, we want to do a cardinal photo issue. We want to do an HDR 360. We want to do this type of a video mission. Well, that's great. Those are all things that you can build from a function or from a component, and then it's always there for you. So you can keep using it again and again. That's bluntly. That's why these enterprise level companies love what Dronelink is. And I think there's still a lot of advantages for the hobbyists and the people who are just getting started. But that's the power that came with Dronelink. I think the interesting thing, again, kind of going back to where I think Dronelink is going, is because there's so much interest now in the hobbyist side. I've been pushing harder to try to get kind of almost an entry level version. So in terms of what it looked like and where I think it's going, I think the goal here, again, what's kind of the pricing drives, is a version that maybe you take out the repos, you take out some of the high-end complexity stuff, and you get it to the point where I want to do something really cool with my drone, not just be a Me Too waypoint solution out there, but what can I do that's very, very cool? I think that's some of the things that we're looking at doing in addition to, getting on par with some of the other products that are out there, but really more importantly, kind of taking it to the next level.
Yeah, definitely. And one thing I wanted to mention as well is, in my trials with Dronelink so far, I really did love that community aspect. I feel like the fact that you can share your repos and really work on something together like that is really wonderful, and moving forward that hopefully will be, like you said, integrated even more heavily. And the other thing as well that you touched on is, it's not a software solution where you just kind of jump into it and you can just go from there. Like, there is a fair bit to it, and it is a very powerful piece of software. And I really do appreciate how thorough the tutorials and the videos are to actually guide you through everything. So yeah, that was something that personally, just on like a consumer level, to jump into it and kind of go, wow, that you can do so much with this thing. Like, where do I start here? And then to be guided through those videos, I thought that was a really nice touch. So
as a guy that did the videos, too much, too little. I mean, I get mixed feedback. People like it, sort of like them, and we're almost on 50 of them right now. I mean, there's too many. What's the feedback on that?
Yeah, but I think it's good because you're offering value, like it makes it easier for people to jump in and really understand what each feature does and how to actually use the software. Otherwise they're going to be constantly contacting you, or there may be some confusion going on and misleading information from other people using the software. So I think it's good to hear it directly from you guys.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's definitely something that I don't recommend just turning on and flying. We obviously see on the support side people asking questions that are either addressed in the videos or addressed in the FAQs. So we typically tell people, like, we have a forum. You can post your questions there. I would say 95% of the questions that are out there have been answered before, so they're reviewed in the forums. What I love is what you said, which is when people have they've leapfrogged mind level of knowledge in using it in many times. We've got Java programmers and people writing functions and pushing the software to new levels and really collaborating on things that I think we're just starting to scrape the level. That was always the vision, was trying to build, start pulling people together, get in the early stages. We pulled in some ambassadors to start using it. There's a user group set up by Gary and Eric that they do a really nice job of kind of talking through, and they help out a lot in driving people to use the product, help people how to use it. But again, seeing again, very, very sharp people that are programmers and drone pilots start to push it is, I think, what it excites me, it excites Jim too.
Yeah, no, that's really great. So I think, the most common question that we've had is about warranty. Now, would you be able to talk a little bit on how that works if you're using Dronelink?
So I think the answer is relatively simple on it. I mean, somewhere along the line in the forums, there's this comments that were made that using third-party software, and it's not just Dronelink, it's Litchi, it's drone, drone deploy, it's every other piece of software that's out there. The comment is, if you use it, your warranty is immediately void. And that's just simply not true. I can't say it in either way. It's not true. We are working very aggressively with DJI. Jim just spoke at an event with DJI at Airworks. They have been aware with us. They've been aware of Jim and our work back in the autopilot days through Hangar and through Dronebase, through Dronelink. They're obviously familiar with companies like Litchi. We are an approved partner of theirs. They know what we do. So that being said, at least, and I won't speak for the other third-party solutions, but I'll speak for the way that we handled autopilot and the way that we handled Dronelink. And that's that if the drone crashes and it's our fault, we'll fix the drone. We Dronelink. We stand behind the software. If the software actually has a bug in it that sends your drone off into the great unknown and it's gone, and we can prove it, and look, there are logs that track everything that goes on. If that happens, we'll fix it. Bluntly, it has not happened. So we haven't had to do that. We did it once for autopilot, maybe once or twice. I remember. For autopilot, have not had to do it for Dronelink.
Wow. Okay.
And then the other thing I'll say from DJI's perspective, I mean, again, having been a pretty loyal DJI customer for 6 years, we have had one crash that was under warranty, that was 100% our fault, with a mission we put together with a water tower, and the mission was not well thought through, and the drone flew full strength into a water tower and crashed, and they sent it back and they replaced it. So I can't say, I mean, what I call, if I was doing a claim, when I fill it out and say I was using Dronelink and I smashed it into a tower because I stupidly put together a mission, I probably wouldn't do that. But we have the logs. We can provide a drone. They will back it. I've seen posts from them saying that they'll back it up as long as you have the logs, it's taken care of. So I prefer to tell people, fly safe, fly carefully, check your missions, check your area, make sure you know what you're doing before you send it up. And for the most part, I've had 2 crashes in my life. The 2 crashes that I've had were, again, 100% my fault. So I haven't had a fly away that was because the software did something weird or disconnected. It didn't do it. The software's always done what it's expected to do.
Yeah, okay. So in that scenario, if there is a bug and it is something to do with Dronelink, do users reach out to you as well as DJI? Or are we just reaching out to DJI or just you? How does that look?
We have the forums, and there's a support area forums. I would always start there. If there's if you're really you're 100% convinced that there's a bug and that drone crashed, send a message to support@dronelink.com. We'll get back to you, or post in the forums. We'll get back to you.
Yeah.
Again, even going back to the very, very early beta users, when there was bugs in the software and there were issues that we were working through, the heart of it is very, very, I wouldn't say crash proof, but it's built on the way that DJI writes their software, which is really intended to be, it's got a return to home feature. If it disconnects, it comes home. There's nothing in the software that says, all right, if I don't know what to do, send it off in the great unknown. The only thing that I ever I remember in the autopilot days and this holds true for DJI or anything else. The only problem that I kind of remember people having was if you set a home point that's in a different location and then it disconnects, it's going to go back to that other home point. There was situations where if you flew from one point and went off to another point, you marked that old home point, you took off, and it disconnected, it's going back to that initial home point. So you got to be a little bit careful about what's going on. I think part of the beauty again with Dronelink is that you can preview everything. The mission preview in the 2D is very powerful, so you can kind of see the altitude and the distance and what's going on. And then pushing it off to Google Earth, you can kind of do the additional checks on it to make sure your altitude's right, so you're not going down below tree level or too low or do something you didn't actually intended to do, as well as obviously check all of your camera settings and video. That to me is one of the most powerful things of Dronelink is like, if I'm planning a mission, I can sit here on my computer, I can plan it all out, I can look at it. Oh shit, I forgot to turn my video camera on at that point. Turn the video camera on, preview it again, look at it, see what it looks like in Google. Oh, that's kind of cool. That's kind of looking for it. Let me change the angle. Keep doing that, and then literally just go out, put it down on the ground, play. It plays. And I don't know if I posted a video a couple weeks back where I did that. I was doing a commercial shoot for a golf course, and I was able to plan it all out at home. Brought it to the golf course. It played perfectly the first time. That was just from a 30-40 minute planning session at home. So that's the great thing I think of.
No, that's great. Yeah. So we do, Todd, yes, you can ask questions. We do have Todd Clark asking. And if anyone else has questions as well, you can jump in, just let us know in the chat. Go ahead, Todd. Did you have a question now, or are you just asking? Sorry.
You can unmute yourself if you're trying to ask a question.
Yeah, unmute yourself, Todd. I think you have... There you go.
There you go.
Sorry, guys.
That's all good.
To unmute myself. Well, it wasn't really a question. It was just more a statement. I kind of interesting to find out that DJI is kind of okay with us using third-party software. Then is that the case?
Yeah, no, they're aware. They're working right alongside us, both on particularly they're working alongside us on the enterprise side and the business side. And I would personally say that they are extremely aware. For those that have been flying for a while, the early DJI software, the DJI Go software, did not have waypoints, did not have any of the advanced functionality. It's absolutely been driven by third-party solutions like Litchi and Autopilot, I think. I mean, I've been a long time, Apple and Android, but Apple lately user. I used to jailbreak my phone, and I jailbreak my phone because I wanted functionality that Apple didn't do. And I think the jailbreakers drove Apple to create folders and create additional functionality that the software didn't have. I think the same things happened with DJI. The waypoints off, the quick shots have all kind of come from things that third-party solutions have done. So again, there's not a ton of these third-party solutions out there, but the one, and obviously you don't want to send up, $500 or $1,500 or a $6,000 drone up in the air with some kid working out of his basement that's experimenting with the software. But I stand behind the dev team on Dronelink. He's bluntly one of the sharpest guys I know. Very well respected by DJI and the community as somebody who knows the software and can build it. So DJI is very, very aware. I guess that was the best way to put it.
That's great. Look, the one thing I would say is, look, I'm from an IT background myself, and I kind of find Dronelink terrific the way it's structured. It's incredibly powerful. If anybody's concerned about using it, like Eric said, I'd get online, watch the videos. They're so easy. Once you get the concepts of the components together in your head and how it all works, the drone goes where you program it to go. And it's easy. You can preview it. It's just such a powerful piece of software, and it's incredible. And it turns the Mini into, which is a great drone, turns it into a beast of a drone. It's absolutely fantastic. So thanks, Eric. Thanks for all your work. We really appreciate it.
I appreciate that. And look, I love hearing people's excitement over the autonomous flights. That's why I tell that story sometime about the first time I flew autonomously 6 years ago, only because I can still remember that feeling of, wow, there to there. I've done this manually, but watching this thing do it autonomously is really cool. And I have a cousin that just went out and bought a Mavic Mini on my recommendation. he watched all my videos and got sick of my voice, but he watched all my videos. And then he went out and he told me he flew his first mission. But he had that same bit. I know every single person that's ever flown autonomously for the first time has that little bit of apprehension of push the button, let go of the sticks, and believe it's not going to fly away. And he said it was awesome. He kind of did an orbit around his house, and then did a couple of things. Like he ran back in his house, and he told me that everything's working really well. So yeah, so I love hearing that excitement. I feel it. I mean, the cool thing is, as I've worked through these software solutions, is seeing the additional stuff that's coming out. I mean, I've worked with autopilot, and some of the things that I miss from autopilot that are coming are kind of the GPS based follow and being able to zing around. I used to do a lot of stuff with autopilot. I did training classes with it. We'd rent a boat in Florida, and then we just have it chase us in the boat from different angles, and I got some crazy footage that way. So that's coming again in the next couple of months. So there's some really cool functionality that'll be built on top of the basic functionality of Dronelink already.
That's great. And also in the YouTube comments, we had a comment from Jamie saying, I think it's the right level of videos. As a beginner, I watched from episode 1 to episode 39, building missions along with videos. Great way to learn how it works. So another really positive comment, which is great to hear. I guess, seeing as this event is hosted with the Mavic Mini kind of in mind, and obviously being hosted through the Mavic Mini Australia Facebook page, would you be able to talk a little bit about, you mentioned it at the beginning, how popular the Mavic Mini has obviously been for Dronelink, and, running this Facebook group, I've definitely seen the excitement for the Mavic Mini. So would you be able to talk about what's available for Mavic Mini users for the people out there who don't know?
So yeah, I'm assuming that everybody on this group has a Mavic Mini.
Most people do.
So yeah, I mean, I will. So me personally, I skipped this one. I tend to be a techno geek that buys the latest and greatest. I'm like my little OM4 from DJI that I bought on a whim. So I skipped this one only because I tend to fly. I love my Mavic 2 and my Mavic 2 Pro. I have a Phantom 4 Pro. I have an Inspire 2. So that tends to be what I fly. I didn't buy this only because I thought I had the Spark, I had the Air, I had a bunch of the other ones that I bought and sold after trying it for a while and testing it. But the Mini I skipped only because I thought it was a little bit more of a consumer level drone. But obviously, when this whole thing came out about I keep saying autopilot, Dronelink supporting Mavic Mini, I rushed out and bought it and tested it, and it worked perfectly. And that was such a cool thing to see this. And I'm amazed. The drone, it's tiny. I mean, I fly little racer drones too, and this thing's smaller. Obviously, the racer drone is 250 grams. It's lightweight. So for people that are just looking to get started, it's a fantastic drone. I mean, again, the FC40 and the big drones, that's not a big drone, but like the Phantom 4 size drone, that's a more sizable drone. This is tiny and it flies rock solid in the air. I always consider these things now like tripods in the sky. You can put it on the controller down and it'll just lock there. And that's an awesome feeling to feel secure. That you're not. It's really. I wouldn't say it's impossible to crash, but it's hard to crash these things right now. From an autonomous software perspective, I do think, and I'll speak using words that I've heard from other people that I like, which is I think that Dronelink opens the door to a whole bunch of other functionality that DJI and DJI Fly does not currently have, which is great. I mean, I think that's the third-party software thing as a whole, is that if you're looking to do waypoints, have it fly from it, and I always recommend, somebody else told me, posted something I thought was really smart, which is learn to fly first. Don't jump right and don't buy it and then learn Dronelink. I would buy the drone, I'd fly it manually, I'd understand how to stop it. You need to know how to fly it back if you ever have problems with it. You want to make sure you know how to fly it back and understand the screen and DJI Go. So learn that, and then you can also start to appreciate what Dronelink does. If you just try to fly from A to B and look at C, try to do that with sticks. That's maybe change altitudes. That's 4 or 5 stick movements right there. You've got to keep on track of and look down and make sure you're not smashing the wires. And to have Dronelink do it all for you and see it in Google Earth is really fun. So yeah, I think to kind of get back to your question, I think the reason why there's a couple things that I think I found have been interesting about from the Mavic Mini perspective, where we've seen worldwide. One, obviously, it's a great price point. So for those that don't want to drop $1,500 or $5,000 or whatever on a Mavic 2 or even the an Air 2 or something like that that's out there, it's a great entry level drone for $500. You're flying, you get multiple batteries. It's really portable. I mean, this is like you really can't beat this thing. You throw this thing in a backpack along with the rest of your suitcase, and this is everything you need: charger, drone, controller, everything. You can't really beat that from the size of it. It's interesting. We've had users in other countries that have restrictions on the weight of the drone. That if it's over 250 grams, you have to get a commercial pilot license to use it. So we're seeing an interesting group of users right now that are looking to use it, for example, for mapping missions, because you don't need to get a license. You can go off and start using Dronelink and the Mini and start going to do mapping missions. So we've got a whole, that's again kind of why the pricing, we have a separate pricing for mapping right now, is come from that growing group of users worldwide that need a way to do mapping. And it takes good pictures. People are, we've seen people do pretty amazing things, not only the 2D orthomosaic type things, but these 3D shot images. I posted something like that recently by Vision Drone that was using it. It's fantastic. I mean, that's from a Mavic Mini, from my understand, flying with Dronelink. So it's great to see what people are using it for. So look, I think the reality is that it is going to be, it's a hobbyist drone. I mean, it's interesting that I think people are using it commercially. If I've got a commercial job, I am always going to pull out my Mavic 2 or my Inspire before I pull out the Mini. But for people that are learning, it's obviously it's a much easier pill to swallow, and you really get. I mean, it does the same thing for the most part. It's a pretty powerful.
Yeah, it really is, and that's something we've noticed in the Mavic Mini Australia group. Even just for Father's Day, we had a lot of people who were gifted a Mavic Mini, and that was their first introduction to drones. And we've had a lot of other users who their first ever experience with the drone is actually with the Mavic Mini. So it definitely is that entry level point, and that's something I really touched on in my initial review of the Mavic Mini, and especially the fact that it's, like you said, under 250 grams. It makes it a lot easier for pilots all over the world to use it without having to license themselves or go through all these different hoops, which is can be a bit of a pain in the ass, I guess. So in terms of the Dronelink the integration with the Mavic Mini, it seemed that Dronelink you are like the only one that I can see. I'm testing the Litchi beta right now, which has a bit of Mavic Mini functionality, but it's not actually available as a public version right now. Where Dronelink, you can purchase the hobbyist kit and you can use your Mavic Mini with it straight away. So is that just a testament to how well programmed Dronelink was, or how was that process allowing it to work with the Mavic Mini? Was it like seamless for you guys, or was there a lot of work?
So there's the heart of it. Again, kind of goes back to the autopilot days, but the autopilot software and Dronelink was built on its own custom flight controller. So yeah, the developer created something unique, and there was a plus and minus to that. The pro to it was it opened the door to a whole bunch of additional functionality that DJI didn't originally offer. So now you're kind of modifying the OS for lack of a better word. The downside was that companies like Litchi are very, very dependent on the DJI software, and they can do things. I wouldn't say easier, but they can do things at a base level. Where Dronelink, because it has this custom flight controller, can do more. So what does that mean? So Dronelink and Autopilot was put together using this thing called virtual stick. And what virtual stick basically means is that when it's flying along, the commands are not being sent from the drone; they're being sent from the software via the controller. So the software is basically emulating what the controller does. So it's sending stick movement, but it's go right, go left, go up. So that's a great thing, and it's a bad thing. The great thing is that it opens the door. The bad thing is that, first of all, you need to have connection. So the most common question that I get is, what happens if the drone loses connection with the controller? What happens? Well, the answer is it returns to home. Just like if you were flying manually. If you're flying manually and it lost connection, the drone's going to return home. So it has that same action. So the typical follow-up question I get is, well, I don't think that's safe. And I have to say, I think it's safer. They're like, I want my drone to continue along the mission, even if it loses connection. And to me, that's where flyaways happen. Because if you program it badly and it flies off and you can't regain control, you can't send a return to home command back to your drone, that drone's gone. So that to me has been the concern of kind of kind of a lost connection mission control type drone. But that's the way that Dronelink was built in a unique way. The only other downside to that we've seen has been particularly with the Mini, less so with the higher end drones, is that we have seen issues with jitteriness. So a fast, small orbit, because it's sending these commands, it tends to jitter. You see little jitters. If you did it with a Mavic 2 or a Phantom 4, you don't see it at all. But with because it's such a light drone, it's very susceptible to the wind will take it off. Dronelink goes up, it's not right. Correct. So I will say that we're aware of that. The short-term fix to that is experiment with speed and experiment with the radius of the thing. You don't make some tight turns in your waypoints. Some of the users have experimented with particular paths, the yaw speed. That'll also help you. People have fixed things in post using stabilization software that's done a very good job. And then we're looking at ways to make it better, particularly with orbits. If we can, be a little bit more forgiving, so we're not. It can be very aggressive. That's kind of the best way to put it. It's aggressive. If it sees it's off course, fix. So if we can just, okay, it's all right. You're a little off. Don't jam. You'll get there. Stay focused with that. So that's coming as well, where we are aware. But that all just kind of goes to what the again, the way the software was built, what I think what makes it unique in the space.
Yeah, okay. And I guess, in my initial test with it, that they were my thoughts as well, which is it's really good that you guys are aware of that and you recognize that obviously that is a thing that can be fixed, but it's in its current state, that's just what's going to happen. And, I did get similar advice from people about adjusting the speed and the radius and playing around with the settings, which again is something that Dronelink offers. So you can just really tweak that and play with all of the different settings. So that's something that I'm looking forward to testing more over the coming weeks, as I will be doing some more videos on it. But I guess that was a bit of a side note for no reason. But with like moving forward with this, so obviously you guys want to fix this by the sounds of it, and like what other plans do you have for the Mavic Mini? So is that the first focus, to try to make it the smoothest experience, or do you have other focuses?
So we actually have a kind of a look at a roadmap. So if you go to Dronelink.com, there's a roadmap page that you can see all the stuff that's being worked on. We've done surveys and asked people kind of what they're looking for. And I would say that's probably mid to high on the list. The other thing that that we hear most, it's interesting. The feature that was requested most was the active track type follow, which to me has always been, I've been using active track, via DJI from the beginning. I've always found it frustrating because I always found that it loses the thing following, unless you're wearing something that's a big contrast to your background. I find it loses you a lot. My personal wish has always been the GPS based follow. I look at the boat follow or a car or bicycle or skateboard, being able to lock onto your location from a GPS perspective, or even what we used to do is we could have it set drone to follow another drone. So we could have a drone orbiting another drone that way. It's like all based on GPS location. So that is in the works. We are looking at rolling out the drone, basically the waypoints offline. I call them offline waypoints. I forget there's another term that Jim and I were just talking about yesterday that escapes me right now. But basically, it's allowing the drone to work off of the DJI flight controller, so it'll fly waypoints by itself. But that won't work on the Mini. So just to be clear, that's the reason why, I was kind of coming full circle on your other question, the reason why Litchi does not work with waypoints is because of its flight control. It won't work unless DJI, the only way it'll work is if DJI updates its flight controller or Litchi implements a solution like Dronelink. And the one other solution that I've seen for that does it is this red waypoint solution, which does it for the Android device solely. They have an iOS solution, they have a PC solution, they have a planning solution, but they do have a waypoint solution for Android. So those are both based upon the virtual sticks solution. I think the other thing that we're starting to do more and more on is, again, trying to make it, I think it is trying to make the experience easier for the commercial users and, I'm sorry, the hobbyist users, try to create maybe just a simple version that takes out some of the stuff that people don't necessarily are using out of the gate and then turn it on after to make it a little bit of a faster learning experience. And then again, we've tried to be pretty responsive so that as people have asked for things, we put it on the roadmap, and then we try to get that people can vote on those things and request stuff that they want, and we'll react to those needs as they come up. So we're excited. I mean, I think it's another thing we're just really excited about. Again, I've worked with Jim for a long time right now. I know when Jim kind of goes into developer mode, he'll just become self-absorbed with it, and I've seen him roll out stuff, in a day. When I was involved in the early bug testing phase with him, I remember I saw a bug in the software, and I called him from the field. He fixed it when I was out there, and it fixed the software. Literally, I was sitting there. If we try now, that's again kind of the beauty of the Dronelink software is it's not a download. It's all web-based. So literally just refreshed and okay, now it's doing it. Yeah, it's working now. Thanks. That was cool. So he literally fixed it while I was out
on
there.
the fly. That's so cool. So how many people do you have in the team? Is it just you and Jim?
There's basically 3 or 4 of us right now. So we have it's Jim and I, and then we have somebody else who's been working with us on the marketing side, and a couple other people that assist as well. But Jim's the brains and the heart. I tend to play more of the marketing side, the social media side. Jim gets it kind of triggers Jim a little bit. He's definitely more of on the dev side than the social media side. The other group is also working heavily on the enterprise. The scan, we actually have kind of a separate product called ScanLink, which is really geared toward tower inspections and some of the enterprise work that we're doing. So he brings a lot of background and experience. He actually came from Hangar, so he's got a good, strong background there. He's been helping out with that. But interesting again with everything that happened with with the Mavic Mini. If you've seen the Dronelink website right now, that is a reaction to our users. We had our existing website. It was, I think, good. The video that I helped build that thing. It was a great video. But again, our feedback was that it was too much. It was a little bit overwhelming for hobbyists, and it was. We looked at the heat maps of how people were interacting with the site and thought it was a little bit too much. So we rolled out this new site a week or so ago, and it's got, I think, good reaction from people. Again, it's cleaner looking. We're going to do that. So yeah.
Cool. Yeah. No, I noticed that. I noticed that change. And it is really great. I think that would make you guys stand out moving forward. The fact that you do listen so closely to what the community wants as well. I think that's really important from any level, and especially something, that people, are using quite expensive drones on your software, and the fact that they would feel heard is just fantastic. So what kind of features are you looking forward to moving forward? We've spoken a little bit about the Mavic Mini. Also, anyone in the comments who wants to ask any other questions, jump on in. But just you personally, Eric, what features are you looking forward to? You mentioned the follow modes for the Mavic Mini. Is there anything else that you can shed some light on for us?
So I'll answer Todd's question here quickly. I saw something about the Mavic Air 2. So typically DJI will release an update to the SDK. Ideally, when they release the SDK, it's it's very quick for us to turn the software on if nothing's changed majorly, as it kind of was the case with the Mavic Mini. The SDK was updated, and we were testing it almost immediately after. Hopefully that'll be the same thing with the Air 2. So, but it's really, people always, when is it going to be supported? It's, you ask DJI. We asked them. They're a tiny little company. So yeah, so they eventually respond, and they're working on it.
Yeah.
Well, to your other question about kind of what I'm interested in, I always tell people the feature that I always really liked a lot was a feature called Focus. And it was GPS-based focus. And it was interesting. I was actually playing with my Mavic 2 yesterday, and so there is a mode that it kind of uses active track to do focus, where it lets you lock on, draw a box on something, hit go, and then as you fly, the drone kind of does a decent job of trying to maintain. But again, even in just my little limited experience of trying to lock on a person, and then I flew higher and I tried to lock onto a building and then flew, it lost. Just simple thing. Pool, gigantic pool, 200 feet in the air, look at the pool, and then just fly. And it would lose the pool, just kind of going back and forth. GPS-based focus never lost location. The ability to lock on a location and altitude of that, and then literally just fly around, and the drone would yaw properly. Even with, the Inspire 2 is even better because it would yaw the camera and you could fly. But even with the Phantoms, the Mavics, and the Minis, to have it just basically, it's a little different way to fly, but to have it look at something and fly and keep track of that thing, I think it's a very, very useful functionality. I think the continual growth of from the community of enhanced functions. So again, we created some basic functions. So a path function, on the fly function, where you can you don't have to plan it at your PC. Go out, you can fly to A, B, and C, mark those points, mark where you want the drone to look, and then boom, it'll fly. So that's cool. And then now you can do an orbit on the fly function. Fly to the center, fly to the orbit, boom, it'll fly to the orbit. And then we started expanding on that. Like, what are the things that I need? Some of the jobs. So that's a cardinal photo thing, where it kind of flies 8 points or 16 points around an object. So those type of things. And then that was the beginning of it. And then I think then it becomes, what additional things can you do? I don't know if it was a video I did a while back on, it was called Droneception, which, if you've ever seen those images where they take images here, and they stitch it together, and you kind of get that Inception movie video with the wall, the floor kind of comes up, and the ground comes up. So we saw some incredible videos of people doing stuff like that. I love those. So we're talking about doing stuff like that. Actually, I created a function to allow people to do that. One of the other developers did something, again, I mentioned before, on these HDR 360s and HDR panos. I think is really, really cool. What was the other thing that I saw that I thought was pretty slick? Thought about it, slipped my mind. But yeah, I think again, it's trying to find things that can be automated in better ways. I think the other thing that again, I don't think it's as much play, but I definitely use it. It's one of the things I like about Dronelink. And again, people accuse me sometimes of smashing Litchi. I really like Litchi. I've used it. I used it when Autopilot stopped supporting the Mavic 2 Pro. I used Litchi. That's because it was the only one out there that did it. I like the software. I've done a bunch of golf courses and flyovers with golf courses, and I did it all with Autopilot. And then when I had another one to do, I did it all with Litchi. The only problem I had with Litchi was that I would fly, do a golf course hole, and then fly off and do something else. My settings would be wrong, and I'd be changed because I'm doing whatever, images versus video. And then I'd go back another day and fly a couple more holes, and I'd forget to set all the settings properly. And then I'd get home, and my footage was all messed up. And that was because it was an ISO setting. I forget, it was the white balance, and a couple things were just not right. One of the things that I really like with Dronelink that makes it unique is this the ability to create a kind of a camera reset or a optimal video settings for yourself. So I think I'd like to continue to see stuff that does that intelligently. I saw an interesting post just recently trying to push again the Mavic Mini with its camera restrictions, but still allowing you to take advantage of the shutter speed and the aperture, like take intelligent photos based upon what it sees. I think you'll see more of that as well, kind of leading into some of the ScanLink stuff where it's actually not only just reacting to GPS location, but what it is seeing. Maybe not an active track thing, but based upon what it's seeing, adjusting to keep the tower or the person or whatever it is in view so you can build that thing. I think those are the other things that you'll continue to see more of. So a little more of that processing stuff, which will further require people to buy the top iPhone, Android device out there. That's the other.
Yeah, true. That's the other thing. Yeah, right. And one thing as well is, through the Dronelink software, there's a lot of power within the components, and then you can also, code particular things as well. So does that mean that people out there who are, developers or have a bit of knowledge about code, can they go to the extent of, I don't know if this is a stupid question, but can they create something like a tracking mode, or is that something that Dronelink needs to approve or add in there? Like, how does that work if it is like an open source software? How much control do other developers have?
So I say there's kind of two answers to that. There is programming at the function level. So with what the functions are, we've had people build their own functions, and now it's kind of in our pricing structure, it kind of leans toward the elite user, people that understand Java, can program the functionality and deploy them. So there's that level. I think the enterprise level functionality of kind of pushing things to the next level, it's doable. And that is what our enterprise users are doing. They're using Dronelink as the heart, and they're building their own user interface and enhancing the functionality, whether it's to do tower inspections or tie it to a drone service provider application or build their own tool. So it's definitely possible. Again, I'll speak again just quickly to my cousin is a strong programmer, and it was really great to see his reaction to the approach that Dronelink took, because although he's a new drone pilot, he immediately appreciated the way that it was built. He could immediately see the way that it was built in a way that even he, at the function level, could build that he could get the next level. So, I'm a programmer from years ago, but like the people that are really programmers, when they come back and say, you're doing it right, the people that are working together with Jim on the enterprise, they're telling him he's doing it right. So it's a trade-off of the complexity versus the open source of it, but it really is built with open source in mind.
Yeah, no, that's great, man. That's really great. You kind of touched on a few things. What other things have surprised you that Dronelink's actually been capable of doing? Like, you guys have developed this to be open source. Have you got any like standout stories of, I guess, missions or kind of corporate jobs or whatever it may be where they've done something and shared it with you and it surprised you, like the power of Dronelink?
I mentioned one. I think the mapping thing is very interesting. What's going on in Italy and some of the other places that have kind of the licensing requirements and the weight of the drone. I think that's kind of been an interesting area. I saw something interesting recently that, it's funny. I got kind of mixed reactions from people, but there are people that are, I don't know what the term is internationally, but they're preppers, right? Basically, people that are concerned about, there's varying degrees of how intense they are into it, but the idea of, if something bad was to happen, that they've bought enough stuff in their house and they're prepared for those type of things. And part of that is I've kind of called it search and rescue, but it's also the ability to kind of monitor your neighborhood and keep an idea of what's going on within, are people coming in and out of your neighborhood? So it's a security aspect of it. Basically, you do kind of, flybys of your neighborhood. And a guy came across one of my videos and bought the software and got really excited. He's 200,000 video YouTube followers, got really excited about it, posted it. and I got in touch with the guy. So that to me was a nice, unique way. He's really excited about it because it's, it's only a five. His video was great. Excellent job of kind of introducing the Mavic Mini for people that know nothing about drones. The price point where you need to get going, and then he spent the last back half of the video basically talking about how awesome Dronelink was and how great it is that he can sit there in his backyard and pop the thing up there, and it'll just kind of do a search and rescue mission around his development. So I thought that was kind of a unique way that we hadn't really thought of. We've done obviously search and rescue, but that whole the kind of the group of people that fall into that prepper world, I thought was kind of an interesting space. I mean, again, I've personally done my share of golf course flyovers. I think this tool is awesome for flyovers like that because again, it's you're not flying over people. You can really visualize whether it's even when there's altitude change. You can really make sure that the flyovers look the way that you want them to look before you go out and fly them. You can plan them all. I mean, again, just for an example of what I did is 4 or 5 years ago, I did a golf course flyover for one course. They did like $20-30 million of investment into the golf course, and they wanted me to come back out and fly them again. And I had all the missions already stored. They're already there. I just went out, played it 18 times, and boom, I was able to reshoot everything from the ground up. I already mapped out all those missions. So I think that's really, really powerful. I sort of think some other use cases that I've heard from people. I think I've mentioned it before, but these HDR 360s, there's kind of a sub community of people that got really that are still very into that are publishing 360 and HDR images and trying to optimize, both with the higher end drones, but I think interestingly using the capabilities of the Mini, which is got camera limitations, but using Dronelink, they're finding ways to play with the shutter speed and and kind of create that HDR image, which I think is really, really slick. So again, just kind of pushing the limits of what you can do with the Mini.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's great. That's great. We have a few questions in here. So one question is there any way to search for functions or components created by the community? So I think they're asking about, I saw a few looking at the forum, but I wonder if there is an easier way. So in terms of finding other components or other functionalities.
Let me a test here because I haven't done in a little while. But let me see if I can find them here. Let me just quickly get somewhere. I'll share screen here.
Yep.
Ooh, you gotta enable screen sharing for me here. It looks like.
Oh, that might be an issue. We Keith is actually hosting this, and he is not here. That's not great. Could I load it up on my end?
Possibly. I mean, if you go to Dronelink and there's an Explore Public Repositories link, and that's where they kind of are. That's one way to look at them, and then star them, and then once you're adding functions, as described.
So explore the public repos.
Yeah, explore the public repos. You'll see all the repos, both from Dronelink as well as other users that they repos that they've made public, and then you can star them. And as you star them, and if you're building something and you add a new component, and then there's something that says include from repository, and then you can see all of it. You can search. I wish I could share.
Yeah, I've got it set up through the YouTube, just so it's actually going to create it within the video. But I'm seeing here that there are search options through like the most starred option, and then I can see how many functions are within that repo set.
That's like we try to sort them based on the ones that are most popular. So right now, like all of the 360 HDRs or the DV Silco's been doing are top of the list right now.
Yeah.
And then there's an option there to show all the Dronelink ones. So that's where you want to go. So there's like the easiest thing to do, I would say, is if you're in a mission and you click on add a component and then say add from repository, and then it'll, if I'm saying that right, yes, include from repository, and then you'll see there's a search bar there. You can search for whatever you want.
Yeah, cool.
See if it, yeah, like one of the things that is useful for me is like if you search and then you type in the word reset, you can see all of the reset. There's a camera settings reset, a drone settings reset, a gimbal settings reset. I think those are some of the early ones that we created. You can search. I think you're in the, yeah, so like if you do what I just, if you do that again and you do a search for Droneception, you can see what I was talking about there for that Droneception component that's out there.
Right. Okay. And
then again, I really like the other thing that I'm hoping to see more of, although and I've started to see it, is if you're posting a mission, even like the forums, I love seeing people like, I'm trying to optimize this mission's not really the way that I want it to be. You can post the mission and let people go in and either change it or even just make it so it's kind of read only, so they can copy it into their own repo and modify it and share it back to you. So I think that's a really cool thing that I think we're just starting to scratch the surface of. I've seen the HDR guys do that, where they're just learning, again, particularly with the Mini, they're learning what its capabilities are. And so I think that's kind of a fun thing to be able to do, is just and again, I think it's one of these other things that makes Dronelink very unique, is that I can create a mission, I can share it, I can create a link off it, I can post it to a forum or a website or Facebook, and people could go in. I posted, it was kind of cool too. I did that video I was telling you about, where I kind of did that golf course video. I planned it, and then I flew it in the second video. I posted a link to that, and a good number of people downloaded it and pulled it into their own repo, which is kind of fun to see. So letting people see it. And again, obviously the kind of the nice thing about it is that even if you don't have a drone or have a Mini, or you're thinking about buying a Mini, I still think the Dronelink's worth $20, because you can, the Google Earth type stuff is really slick. I mean, you can do these flyover. Jim and I, one weekend, maybe 6-9 months ago, we rolled out the Google Earth integration, and we just picked locations: Washington D.C., the Statue of Liberty, and we just did flyovers using Dronelink, sitting here in our offices, and created these incredible 3D videos. So I think the ability to I'm just kind of rambling here, but I'll give you just another thing that I thought was interesting of Dronelink was I had a job that I wanted, that I was kind of going back and forth a little bit with the client on. So I created a Dronelink mission, and then I sent initially I sent the Google Earth video of it, and then I eventually sent the Dronelink link to him, so he could see exactly what I was doing. And he'd be like, "Nah, can you go higher here? Can you push it a little more to the left here?" And I was able to sit here, at my desk and show him. And the reality of it is, we could have actually done it in real time. I mean, if you're sharing a mission, and if you've ever tried this, if you share a mission with somebody else and you're both looking at it at the same time, if one person makes it, it updates it on the other person's screen immediately. So it's kind of it's always little intimidating things that you see, but it's pretty amazing if you've got a mission, you're working on it with a team, to have everybody kind of working and modifying it and changing settings and adding things to it, all work in real time.
Yeah. No, that's great. So we do have a question from Todd in the Zoom chat. So for the people out there who are considering Dronelink, how long will the hobbyist level stay at the $20? Is that something that's fixed, or is that going to be changing in the near future?
So we just changed something this past weekend. So it's our intent, to keep a $20 product out there. If you go there, you'll see, and we're still kind of, it's out there. I'd say we're still kind of ironing down the best way to explain it to people. Some of the feedback from a few people was it's a little confusing. And I appreciate that there's more options now. I guess the best way to put it. There's kind of a basic, a premium, and an elite product right now. The basic, well, basically, the premium adds in air map integration, some higher end functionalities, more, and the premium is really geared more toward the programmer that's looking to, or the elite's more geared toward the programmer that's looking to create their own functions. So there's those hobbyist levels. There's also if I could share my screen, if you go to Dronelink.com and the pricing page, you'll see the pricing, the comparison that explains it all. But there's now a mapping in response again to the users. There's now a mapping plan which allows commercial pilots very inexpensively to use Dronelink if that's all they're looking to use it for. So for a one-time charge. And then the commercial side, there's an ongoing charge. The kind of coming full circle for those that did purchase, and this is kind of I'm trying to be nice to both the new users and the existing users, but the reward that we had for people that were with us from the start, where if you bought the hobbyist software, as of last week, we're upgrading all those people to the high end, the elite package in Dronelink to start. So there's no, I bought this thing thinking I had everything and not getting everything. So we're giving you everything. We're just giving we're walking out the door at basically the $80 package that we have. The only thing that it doesn't include is the email support, because we're a small crew and we try to push all of our support to the forum. You can upgrade to get to get more advanced support, but the beauty for the thousands of people that bought the software and paid $20 as of last week, you get the $80 software package right now. So that was kind of our nice little thank you to all of our users that's been pretty warmly received. And I think the good news is that I think the product is still very cheap. I mean, we experimented with different price points. I obviously $20 to me, even for a $500 drone, definitely for a $1,500 or $5,000 drone. When people push back, I mean, they say, I don't want to pay $20. Your propellers are worth more than $20. It's like, you're killing me with like the fact that it's too much money. It's throwaway money, I think, for most people. So try it. I think it's worth $20 to try it. It's probably
to be honest, Eric, it's too cheap.
Yeah.
If you've got any concept of how expensive it is to develop a package of this nature, everybody out there that owns a Mavic Mini, you should be using this software. This is phenomenally cheap for what you're getting, and we need to support these guys because we want this type of software out there, and software developers deserve to be paid for the work they do. That's just the economic reality of trying to develop a package of this magnitude costs money, and it's up to us to support these guys because this is phenomenal. Get on board, buy this software. It's worth every penny.
That's well said. Look, I do this kind of on the side. I'm not full time personally to Dronelink. I have a job that pays my bills, and this is not it. But for Jim, it's his full time thing, and he is, he's a successful person that could go off in the business community. He could be making a lot more money working for Google or some other company. It's a passion for him. That's why I do it. I love this stuff too. So we're trying to find a way to make it accessible to as many people as possible, and make it reasonable. So I think the price point is well put together. If anything, again, it's good. It's really good to hear you say that it's super price. We've heard that too. Is that if anything, we should charge more. And I was going to say a couple things that just further make it cheaper in my mind is that we don't charge for Android or iOS. So like, again, I love Litchi, but I bought Litchi for Android and I had to buy it again I had to buy it for both iOS and Android. So that was, $60 to buy the two versions or $50 for the two versions I bought, plus the training. So, if you like the videos, we don't charge for them. other companies, they charge for it. So, it really is $20 to be flying, learning on any device, which is, PC, Android, iOS, all works pretty well. So I don't disagree. There could be more, but we're trying to build the community. I think that's why we went down to the $20 price as opposed to trying to push for something more.
Yeah, for sure. And that was something I was really surprised with. I was expecting even some sort of subscription model there, which could again be justified based on how much you're getting out of it. But $20 is phenomenal, and it's good to hear that you guys are going to try to honor that as much as you can for the time being. Like who knows where it's going to go in the future, but for now, at $20, it's really really affordable. It's fantastic. Just on the mapping side of things, we do have a question here, and you briefly touched on mapping. So the question was, I use my drone primarily for mapping. Currently I do it manually. I try to overlap the images as much as possible. Is there a way to do the mapping automatically? An option to stop the drone at each photo interval?
So absolutely. So you just talked about having it do interval photos and do kind of the same thing that you've got a drone deploy application for the Mini. So the answer is yes. That's what people are doing with the Overwatch. You could definitely do that. You just got to set interval photos to take pictures along the way. People are doing that right now.
Cool. Well, that's cool. That's really good. That answers that one. Jamie also said.
The other one I saw from Gabor, which I think is a good question. It's something that we've had from the beginning, which is the quality of the map. So, Jim explained this better than I do, but there's an issue with the integration with Google Maps directly into Dronelink. That's why the Google Maps is not integrated into the side. There's technical issues with that. So we have a couple different maps.
Sorry, could we just get people to mute their mics, please?
So there is if you go into the Dronelink interface, there's an option for a different map. I think the here map is another option. Some people have had better luck with that, but I do know that as the number of users continues to expand worldwide, there are places where the maps that we have are good and the maps we have that are not good. We're continuing to try to find ways to provide better maps worldwide for people. I do think that if possible, export the stuff out to Google Earth, look at it in Google Earth. It doesn't always help your situation when you're flying. You're kind of going, you can be a little bit blind based on the map you're at, but it does allow you to preview it before you get out.
Yeah, no, great. Well, I think I will round out this event soon. If there's any other questions from the community, definitely drop them wherever you are, whether that's Facebook, YouTube, or Zoom. And Eric as well, is there anything that we haven't touched on? Anything that you would like to talk about?
No, I mean, I can't really share my screen. I was going to do a kind of a demo for those that hadn't seen it before, but I would encourage people to watch the videos. Obviously, if there are videos that people want to, if there's additional things that people want videos done on, post them to the forums. Let us know. I think that's great feedback for us. If there's something there, I find it funny sometimes when people say, I can't. I need it start to finish. So I've done this I think I've done like 3 or 4 of them where I go, okay, start to finish. From the time I was on vacation, I was sitting on my in this little house we were at. I planned a mission, then walked out, I flew it, and I showed it kind of start to finish. So it seems like 80-90% of the people think it's exactly what they want. There's always the 5-10% of people like, can you show me like turning on the drone? Or I don't know what additional level of detail that I didn't show. But if there is things that people can do, I'm happy to do that. Then I think what it's been a lot of fun for me right now have been to see the videos being done, not only obviously in English, but in German, French, and Chinese. There's a lot of users right now that are picking up. I can't understand the ones that are being done in the foreign languages very well, but it's interesting to see the approaches that they're taking to walk people through, because I'm not saying my approach is 100% right. It's just kind of the way that my logic thinks through things. But there is things that people want me to show or have the community show. I think the fun thing is that there's a lot of people. I've learned this even as I've talked to users who have literally come to me just saying, how can I help? What can I do? So I love that, and to the point where I've got, if I can find more time, one of our users offered to do a user guide. So he's kind of done the initial write-up for a user guide. He's watched through all the videos, and he's been documenting kind of what I was babbling about in the videos into a PDF document. And then I want to try to take that, turn it into a wiki, and let other people kind of add to it, edit to it. So again, back to the community aspect of it, I think is really good. And then again, the videos that I've seen from people are excellent. If they're, I think Eric and Gary have their videos have gotten progressively better. The one quick example I always think about is I have not got around to doing a video on restriction zones, which is kind of a really cool thing that was added, earlier this year. I just never got to doing the video, and Eric kind of beat me to the punch on it. He did a really nice video just kind of explaining how to create multi-level restriction zones and how it works.
Right.
For the most part, I feel even less incentive to do it right now, because if people ask me about it, I just point them to his.
Yeah, that's great. That's awesome that you've got, such a powerful, supportive community that they can hold that space for so many people. And I think, being a consumer of technology for so many years, there are many products out there, not just software products, where you don't feel held, you don't have that opportunity to reach out to people. And the fact that you guys have that forum, I think, is fantastic, because you don't have to sign up to Dronelink. I've gone on the forums right now, and it's great that that's open to anyone as well. So before you make that decision, you can ask all those questions and have a look through it. And also for you guys, that probably helps a lot, the fact that you've got a community of people, helping with a lot of these questions and queries. Otherwise, you guys would be flooded, and I could imagine that would be quite stressful.
No, look, it's great. One of the ones that I thought was very interesting that came from very early on, from when we had the Mini come out, was we didn't have PayPal support. That was kind of an interesting one that came out.
Oh.
We were getting beat up left and right that we had PayPal support, and we rushed out. We implemented something where people could pay, albeit a little bit manually. They could pay via PayPal and send an email to us, and then they we turned them on within a day. They all had to be manually done, but there was so many people that wanted that we reprioritized that, and we got it done. He just did it in a week, and now it works perfectly. So I just use that as another example of look, tell us if there's something missing or you don't like it, and we a lot of things we've heard, but we continue to hear things that we haven't. The one that I just saw recently, which has been kind of my own personal, I've had the same bit of I've had the same reaction to it. If you've flown Dronelink, the preview screen, at some point Jim rolled out a 3D preview on the preview screen, which he liked, but I find distracting. I always like the 2D view of the map. So whenever I fly with Dronelink, I turn on I always change it over to the 2D. It's the first thing I always do. There's interesting to see somebody else post that on our forums, on our wish list page, can we change that or change the default? And I was like, yep, I agree 100%. So that's a good example of something, just the community kind of coming together and throwing out other suggestions that I thought were really good. So that'll hopefully at least give people the option to do that specific thing.
Yeah, for sure. And I think the fact that, the software is community guided means that, the sky isn't the limit as such. Like, you guys can push past that. The fact that you have so many, talented people by the sounds of it as well that are already using this software, and even more will be coming on as the time goes on. Like, it's almost baffling. Like, I guess you guys probably have an idea of where it's going to go, but it really could go in so many different directions. There could be so many things that are implemented over the coming months. So, I think we've covered quite a lot. There was a question about introducing markers on orbit components. Is that something that you guys are planning?
It's on the list too.
It's on the list
to do, to basically change speed, change focus points. It's on the list right now.
Cool. And you also mentioned the roadmap as well. So how can people find the roadmap?
So if you go to, I think it's under Dronelink. Find it quickly.
.com/. I can load it up on here. Wow.
Yeah, so if you go to the forums, and there is a section there called feature requests,
Yeah.
and there's a pinned post to that called product roadmap.
Ah.
And the link up there says, please refer to our product roadmap. It brings you, it should bring you a Trello board. Yeah, so the Trello board, so you can see all the things that are right now, and people can vote on them. And you'll see all the stuff that we're playing with right now. So
yeah, awesome. Yeah, I've got that up on the screen here, so in the YouTube video everyone can see that. That's great that you've got that all set up through Trello as well. So people can just literally like particular things and try to prioritize what they want.
That's the idea, yeah. So we really do try to listen to people, both, you know, on the marketing side, on the pricing side, you know, on the support side, as much as we can. I mean, I think, yeah. You said it. We're you know, we're not a team of 50. I've always felt that I'd rather see Jim programming and rolling out new features and enhancing the product than going on to YouTube and responding to a person complaining about something that's already in the FAQs. So
yeah.
That's why I love having the forum. I love having people kind of jump in and help. Obviously, I try to help out, you know, as I have time to do too, and roll out videos wherever I can. But yeah, it's become kind of a community effort, which has made it more successful.
Yeah, no, that's great.
No, I'm not going to bed. I'm going golfing. I'm going to leave for an hour. I'm going to go golfing in about an hour. But I appreciate it. I'm going back to bed. I am a little sleepy. I was up late last night. I'm good.
Plus a really early start. Yeah, really appreciate you coming along, man. It means a lot to all of us. Definitely, you've given us a lot of insight into where you guys are going, which is really, again, fantastic and refreshing to see a company that is so open. You know, a lot of companies can be quite closed off, and it's behind closed doors, and they work on it, and then when it comes out, there's the backlash. The fact that you guys are working with everyone is, again, really refreshing. So I appreciate that a lot.
No, look, we appreciate you guys. I mean, like we really tried to be sensitive, even like Jim and I have talked pretty extensively, you know, as well as our team members, pretty extensively about, you know, okay, we roll out this new pricing. What's the backlash going to be? How can we best communicate it? How can we make sure people are comfortable with it? It was the decision. It was, you know, it was the decision. It was why the decision was made, just to take all the existing hobbyist users and just make them elite. Let's avoid that backlash right now. Let's keep everybody happy. Let's keep people jazzed about the software. I mean, to me, it really, I think our vision from the beginning, at least mine particularly, was I really wanted to have something that had thousands of users as opposed to a few hundred users. And there's arguments both ways, and we shifted, and I think we'll continue to go after the enterprise users, which interesting will probably pull on thousands of users in their own way. But you know, I am personally more of a I'm more of a professional user of the software as opposed to an enterprise user. I use it to do to fly. I like flying. I'm a hobbyist at heart. So I love talking to the hobbyists and finding new ways to do it, even as we continue to push things on the enterprise side.
Yeah, awesome. Well, if there's nothing else from the community yourself, Eric, then I think we will end it there. Thank you again very much.
No, thanks for hosting us. And again, go to the forums. Hope to see you guys post. I'd love to see more videos from people as they're starting to do it, for better or for worse. And again, I'd love to see people post the actual mission so that people can enhance them. I'd like to see more of that too. So continue to do that as well.
Cool. Well, thank you for your time, and we'll be in touch for sure. Excited to hear what else is coming.
Great, guys. Anthony, Todd, all you guys aboard. Good talking to you guys. Seeing you guys. We'll hopefully talk soon.
Cool. Thanks, man.